Hey guys, welcome to the last video in this project. And in today's video, or in today's series, or whatever you want to call it, I'm going to be talking about the changes that I made to the project. So I actually am now using a Docker Compose file to orchestrate the whole stack flow. I also changed the Python application to a Flask application, which is also Python. But the reason why I did that is because I realized if I wanted to add in monitoring, I needed more than something that was just a script, which is what we had at first. And that's another thing we're going to be talking about in this video. I'm going to be talking to you guys about how I added in Prometheus and Grafana. So let's get into it. And let's get into it is something that I'm always going to say. Also, I forgot to add that I am taking out Kubernetes from this project just to make everything more simple and shorter for myself. So if you were staying tuned because of that, I'm sorry. I will make another video on it just separately, trying to go over what I know about Kubernetes. All right. That being said, now let's get into it. Okay, so this is our app.py file. This used to be the main file where I had the AI reporter logic, but I made a separate file for that and just called it from my inputs over here. I first start off by implementing Flask up here and also the Prometheus client. I'm also still loading the environment variables and importing some helper functions. Then over here, let me close this up. Over here, I'm implementing or I'm initializing Flask. Then this is where Prometheus kicks off. So over here, we're creating a custom metric that allows Prometheus to track the number of requests that hit our application. Then we create a weather route over here. And then it's followed by a weathers function. Okay, so over here in this function, every time a HTTP GET method is made to the weather route, it's going to increment by 1 over here. And this is also the logic where weather reporter, the AI weather reporter, is going to be receiving the information from the live not movie API, but weather API, and then transforming it into a response. And that would be a JSON response where it's receiving or where it's going to give us the city, temperature, weather, and the report, which is going to be the generated report from the AI reporter. Lastly, we have the metrics route over here, and this is what Prometheus scrapes and is going to transform the information into a format that Prometheus understands and can give us the metrics like the total request number. And finally, down over here, I'm just launching the application on port 5003. And I'll show you how all this works at the end. Also, I just pulled this from GitHub, so if you see the yellow underscore, it's because I don't have Flask downloading. I need to run it in my terminal, which I'm not going to do right now. But let's head over and look at the Docker Compose file. Okay, let me close this up. Okay, so this first line over here is going to be defining what Docker Compose version we're going to be using. And this really defines the syntax that we're allowed to write in. Then down over here for the first service, we're going to be defining our application. So we're going to be building in the current directory and we're going to be setting the ports. We're also going to be defining our environment variables, which is in our NV file. And also we are defining the network. So all of these have the same networks, which was defined so they can communicate with each other because they're all going to be running in a separate container. The next thing we defined was Prometheus. So we specified which Prometheus image we're going to be using, the volume, and also the port, the network. And then moving on to Grafana, same thing. We're defining the image, the ports, and the network. Then down over here, this just tells the networks to let the services communicate with each other internally without exposing them to the outside. And if you're wondering why there's 2 port numbers, like over here for Prometheus, you'll see 9091 and then 9090. This is the host port over here. And on the other side, that is going to be the container port. And also just to kind of tell you guys why I added the network over here is because when I first tried to build this using the Docker Compose file and I tried to add in the Prometheus link inside of Grafana, it wasn't able to find Prometheus, and that's because it wasn't able to communicate with that container. So adding in and specifying the network fixed that error. Okay, so now I'm gonna run docker compose just to show you guys how everything works. It's going to be docker compose. That's not how you spell build. Okay, so the containers now should be running. Now I'm going to show you guys our servers. So let me start with the Prometheus server. So we specify this on port 9091. So our Prometheus server is up. Let me go and look at the other ports. So okay, so I want to show you guys Grafana too. And I want to show you guys how the visual looks with the metrics. So was it one? I think it was. How? Okay, maybe my password. I'll skip adding a new password for now. Okay. All right, so to add in your Prometheus metrics into Grafana, you want to go to connections and data sources. You're going to add a new data source, and it's going to be Prometheus. And you want to enter in your Prometheus URL, but you want to enter in the container URL. So that is going to be HTTP, the name of how you specified it in your Docker Compose file. So for us, it was just Prometheus. Go back over here. Oops. It's Prometheus. I can't type looking down. Something was off about that. There it is. So I'm going to switch this to get test. Okay, it was successful. So we are going to explore view. And this is not building a dashboard right now, but this is just testing to see if your data source is working correctly. So I'm just going to select the metric. I'm going to get total request for your application, and I'm going to run it if I can find. Okay, it's up here. So here you go. This is pretty neat. So you can see the metric over here. You also can set intervals to see a certain time period. But I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to show you guys how to create a dashboard. So you're going to go over to dashboards, create dashboard, add a visualization. You're going to select the data source that you just created. So that's going to be Prometheus. And it's kind of the same thing we did over back over there when we were just looking at the visual that we just created, or the data source that we just created. So over here is where you're going to see the visual. Over here you can edit how you see the visual, and down over here you can set metrics or the queries that you want to run. But yeah, so that's just a quick rundown of how things look in Prometheus and how, you know, also the Prometheus server looks like. And I'm pretty sure you can run the same queries over here. If I can just grab this, let me try it. Wait, what? Oh, I guess they didn't copy well. All right, let me just type it in. What was it? App underscore. Oh, look at that. Let's execute. All right, so it gives us the total over here, so 57. All right, so that's cool. But yeah, that's it for today's video, and that's going to be the last video of this series. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and hopefully this inspires you guys to build something similar. I think the next thing for me is I'm going to start looking deeply into Prometheus and monitoring with Prometheus and Grafana. I'm going to try to make some videos on those just to showcase how I'm learning it and what I'm building with them. So, I mean, if you like what you've seen, hopefully you did. Subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys again. Don't want to talk too much. Let me just end the video right now. See you guys.